BehaviorNews.net.
The News Network presents Inside Health, a 30-minute program in which we explore the human body and functions. We'll share real-life stories of the latest in medical science as we look at related diseases, conditions, and determinants of health that affect quality of life. So join me, Vin Abbott, on Wednesday evenings from 8:30 for Inside Health on BehaviorNews.net, also on KinkadiRadio.info. Looking for a place to relax with natural cool breeze and friendly surroundings? Then check the Bay Hill Tree Bar, located at Bay Hill Cane Garden. We have everything a bar will have. We also sell Shell 20 pounds of cooking gas at the Bay Hill Tree Bar. You can now order your roti skins from Des Tasty Treats and Roti Skins at telephone 1784-528-2979 or pick up Des Tasty Treats and Roti Skins at Randy's Supermarket. More products are coming soon from Des Tasty Treats and Roti Skins.
Every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. you will hear a old-time story by Vin Abbott on BehaviorNews.net.
It's the Vin Abbott Show with news, views, and interviews. The music in the mix on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Kinkadi Radio.
At our clothing store, where personal style is elevated to a high level, creating a visual appeal and a memorable experience. Individual expression is celebrated while maintaining a sense of sophistication and a look of luxury. Visit us online at successradio.ca.
This is Douglas over to Bridgman. Bridgman across! Oh! This is going to be a penalty! Yes, it is a penalty!
Yeah, dog! That's how the college kickoff sports this year. With some serious football action. Six-a-side challenge, selection series, then the mouth-watering invitational football championship. Netball will be next, then T10 cricket to end off semester 1. When stars align, goodness outshines on victory in space and time. So still rise, with grace and with faith in the mark. Boy, wait, I can't make it. Cause Lamont Greg will solve off semester 2 as the defense's table tennis title before the hardcore ballers and smashers do their thing in basketball and volleyball. Road relay heats and track and field finals will take us up to the finish line, while the football tour, a cricket trip, and sports awards decorate the action-packed calendar. This is the real thing! Sports 2025 to 2026 at the SPG Community College. I know what to hear, don't give me that you are to pay. You are to pay, put some respect on me name. I know what to hear, don't give me that you are to pay. You are to pay for them.
This is Douglas over to Bridgman. Bridgman across! Oh! This is going to be a penalty! Yes, it is a penalty!
Yeah, dog! That's how the college kickoff sports this year. With some serious football action. Six-a-side challenge, selection series, then the mouth-watering invitational football championship. Netball will be next, then T10 cricket to end off semester 1. When stars align, goodness outshines on victory in space and time. So still rise, with grace and with faith in the mark. Boy, wait, I can't make it. Cause Lamont Greg will solve off semester 2 as the defense's table tennis title before the hardcore ballers and smashers do their thing in basketball and volleyball. Road relay heats and track and field finals will take us up to the finish line, while the football tour, a cricket trip, and sports awards decorate the action-packed calendar. This is the real thing! Sports 2025 to 2026 at the SPG Community College. I know what to hear, don't give me that you are to pay. You are to pay, put some respect on me name. I know what to hear, don't give me that you are to pay. You are to pay for them.
October is Menopause Awareness Month, a time to honor the journey, embrace the change, and amplify the conversation. On Sunday, October the 5th, you're invited to the Meno Makeover, a powerful, engaging session on Zoom. Let's talk about menopause, but with grace, knowledge, and purpose, because this season of life deserves understanding, not silence. Mark the date, join the conversation. Let's redefine the narrative together.
Join Bay Hill News Network each and every Monday from 7 p.m. for a rebroadcast of the Vin Abbott Show that was broadcast on Saturday last on CanCard Radio.
Bay Hill News Network is an internet radio. We are affiliate with Fun City Radio USA, CanCardi Radio, and Success Radio Canada, and Blaze Nation Media Group. You can find Bay Hill News Network at www.bayhillnews.net.
The Hill News Network presents Inside Health, 30-minute program in which we explore the... We'll share real-life stories of the latest in medical science, conditions, and determinants of health that affect quality of life. Join me, Vin Abbott, on Wednesday evenings from 8:30 for Inside Health on Bay Hill News Net, also on CanCardiRadio.info.
A special good evening to you, night to you, good morning to you, whatever the time in your place. Welcome to this week's edition of Inside Health. Hope all is well with you and your loved ones wherever you are listening to us. So a special good evening to Monty, or Chief Engineer down there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to all the listeners on Bay Hill News Network and CanCardi Radio and wherever you're hearing us. We want to thank you immensely for allowing us into your space at this time. You could have been doing something at this time. I know the world is busy. You chose to be with us. And thank you so much for being there. Once again, welcome to this week's edition of Inside Health. Trust all is well with you and yours. And again, thanks for allowing us into your space, into your domain. My name is Vin Abbott, your host, in the studio of CanCardi Radio, Toronto, Canada, with Monty Cupid, our producer, chief engineer, in the studio of Bay Hill News Network on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Inside Health is a radio magazine health information program out on Wednesday evenings on CanCardiRadio.info and BayHillNews.net simultaneously. And of course, you can always revisit Inside Health on CanCardi Facebook page, also on Bay Hill News Facebook page. I invite you to check it out. Inside Health takes a look at the human body, the different parts, the different functions and conditions and diseases that affect performance. And we take a look at strategies, possible solutions. In this regard, we pay close attention to the determinants of health, to mean all those factors with which we were born, we grow, live, and age, and eventually we die. We do not diagnose nor prescribe. As needed, we make referrals. In this week's edition, we'll be talking hurricanes. Yes, hurricane season 2025, and time permitting, we'll talk a bit, probably start a conversation on human trafficking avoidance. Friends, let's get started. Now, for the 25 Atlantic hurricane season, according to the North Atlantic Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, they forecasted that we'll be having, we should have been having somewhere between 13 to 18 total named storms with winds 39 miles per hour or greater. And they predicted that we would be having 5 to 9 of those storms becoming hurricanes with winds of 75 miles per hour or greater. You notice my language, right? that we will be having, because we're still in hurricane season. Well, and so far, the hurricane season has been very, very quiet. Yes, the hurricane season has been very, very quiet. Now, according to one David Zidon, the Florida State climatologist and head of the Florida Climate Center at Florida State University, when he spoke with ABC News, he said, and this was from today, for the next 7 days, things look pretty quiet. But also, we were reminded the remainder of September and October will likely be active. May I repeat that? The remainder of September and October will likely be active. Friends, I guess most of you followed what happened in St. Croix, I think 6 days ago. Yes, 7 days ago in Christiansted, where they had some really terrible floods there, highly unusual for St. Croix. And I'm happy to know that many of our folks, well, I think one vehicle got washed away, and I don't know of any lives that have been lost. We in Kincardine Radio connect with our fans there, Kaylin Clouden and others, as regards, how things were for them and other folks there, whom they're familiar. And everybody there was, she reported, was fine, but the flooding was terrible. It was just a reminder that we are still in the hurricane season. And it's not always about the winds. Water. The floods can do tremendous damage. So this evening, what we want to do for a few, we want to look at hurricanes, the different categories of hurricanes and the potential damages they can do. And we'll be referencing material from the extreme weather. Tips for 214 tips, that is, for surviving nature's worst, and by Dennis Messereau and the editors of Outdoor Life. So we'll be speaking to some information from this piece here, this manual. And so again, we'll be talking about the different categories of hurricanes. Just as a reminder, right, lest we become complacent. We are still in the hurricane season 2025. And the truth is, we tend to love to use scales to figure out how one major disaster compares to others in sort of objective terms. It is one thing to say, for example, that a hurricane had 145 miles per hour winds, but when instead the hurricane was category 4, locals instantly get an idea of what kind of damage the winds could produce. Now, the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale was introduced in the mid-1980s by one Herbert Saffir and Robert Simpson in order to estimate the amount of damage a hurricane could be expected to produce on landfall, just based on winds. A hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane or Cat 1 hurricane could cause much less damage than a Category 5. So based on the category, we get an idea what is the potential damage, or what are the potential damages. 1 versus 5, 2 versus 4, and so on. Now, experts in this area would tell you that while the scale, the Saffir-Simpson scale, is a useful tool for quickly and effectively getting across to people, the public, the risk of a potential hurricane, it does have its disadvantages. And I spoke to that a while ago. Winds are only part of the equation. Yeah? Winds are only part of the equation. The threat of a hurricane have to take into account the risk of flooding and or storm surge. as well as the possibility for things like tornadoes, in addition to the winds. For example, history reminds us that Hurricane Sandy was a Category 1 when it made landfall in the northeastern United States. But its immense storm surge devastated hundreds of miles of coastline from New Jersey to Rhode Island. This is something that I often talk about. I mean, those of us from the islands, we love to venture out before we get the official word to do so. We love to go and see the rising rivers, whether it's Richmond or Rabaca or wherever. We like to go out and mess around with that. Totally forgetting that flooding takes place and flooding can create damage. I recall some time ago we had some bad weather, so to speak, and I think some children on the leeward side of St. Vincent and the Grenadines were washed away. 1 or 2 children, I stand corrected in terms of the numbers. Some in the Vermont, Pembroke, somewhere Buckermont area, somewhere of that, because of the waters. I cannot tell the last time I heard of a death from the winds of hurricane, apart I think from one directly related to a gentleman on Union Island, kind of one I think it was, or Union Island, due to Hurricane Beryl, because he ventured out from all reports and things happened, unfortunately. We tend to take the flooding the waters for granted. We tend to take the flooding for granted. Friends, in the interest of this program, though, let us take a closer look at the different categories of hurricanes based on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So, for example, and we will also look at the potential damage that can be caused by each category. Of course, there's no clear-cut result from the landfall of a hurricane, right? So many things can happen. The wind direction can change. The strength can change. But for example, a Category 1 hurricane refers to a hurricane in which the wind speeds are between 74 to 95 miles per hour. And the expected damage, according to the Saffir-Simpson scale, would be branches and limbs down, damage to gutters, shingles, and siding. Obviously, all of this has to be landscaped and put into context. It depends on the structure of the buildings, of that particular area of the country or that country or whatever. So if you don't have well-constructed buildings, you have poor roofing and things like that. If you have a lot of stuff hanging around your house, debris and broken chairs and that kind of stuff hanging around, damage can happen. These winds can blow these things and can cause damage to humans, right? Animals and all of that. So it all depends on the context. It doesn't factor in the structure, the structure of the nature of the buildings and other fittings around when the hurricane makes landfall. But this is a fairly decent expectation in terms of the type of damage. Branches and limbs down, damage to gutter, shingles, and siding. And I think the example of that would be in 2011, Hurricane Irene. That was a Category 1 hurricane when it made landfall. A Category 2 hurricane would have winds between 96 miles and 110 miles per hour. And expected damage, severe. Whereas a Category 1 hurricane, you have a widespread damage to trees and things like that. And the Category 2, the damage can be severe. Widespread roof damage occurs, extensive power outages, and so on. Again, landscaped against how prepared we are with our structure, our buildings, and so on, our environment. An example of an hurricane that made landfall, hurricane Category 2, was Arthur in 2014. How about category 3? The wind speeds there between 111 and 129 miles per hour based on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Unexpected damage, extreme. And type of damage, most buildings damaged, some homes destroyed. And then you can add on all the things that happen in the environment in such a hurricane. And strength at landfall, Hurricane Katrina comes to mind in 2005. And how about a category 4, Cat 4? This can be catastrophic, very dangerous. Winds between 130 and 156 miles per hour. And the type of damage here, as predicted or based on the scale, most buildings damaged, some homes destroyed. Again, an example would be, based on history, would be Hurricane Charlie in 2004. How about category 5? Wind speeds 157 miles plus. Expected damage, complete devastation. Type of damage equivalent to a violent tornado, likely area you are not able to inhabit for an extended period of time. What comes to mind? Hurricane Andrew in 1992, and of course, Beryl that hit the region, hit us down there in July last year. And you can think of the damage that was done by Hurricane Beryl. And I think the history tells us that Hurricane Beryl was one of the earliest Cat 5 hurricane to develop. Yes, in history, developed very early in hurricane season in July, right? That was when it developed and created so much damage, in the Southern Caribbean. And while we're at it, let me take this opportunity again on behalf of all of us at Kankadi Radio, the Hill News Network, to wish all our friends there in the Southern Grenadines who were affected and still are being affected by the ravages of Hurricane Beryl. And we will be thinking about you. Hope things are working out for you and your family. We wish the authorities all the very best as they try as they continue to grapple with the rebuilding and all of that of the folks there, especially in the Southern Grenadines, Island, Canawan, and other places. I mean, we continue to get reports out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and there's a lot of work to be done. We are still in the hurricane season, my friends. We are still in the hurricane season, and the message here has to be, let us not let down our guard. Let us not let down our guard. And we are hoping that your house is in your dwelling, your house, or whatever you have, your property is in good shape, right? Because how likely is your home to survive a major hurricane? Of course, the answer really depends on a wide range of factors. How bad is the storm? What is its exact path? Where did it make landfall? But there's some basic points to consider. If you haven't considered them already, I know it's September into October, and we have this saying October, September, month to remember. It's not over yet. Today's the 24th. God forbid. But October is still there. And all the experts are saying the latter part, and I referenced some material there for us. The latter part can be very active. We need to be mindful. And again, I referenced St. Scoy, what happened there out of the blues about a week or so ago. The floods, the flash floods, and all of that. So we are sincerely hoping that you have been prepared a long time ago for the hurricane season, because there are many factors determine how it will impact you. For example, the age of the house, the home, right? Roofing materials. Is your roof made of shingles or tiles? Older shingles can blow off in storms, and cracked tiles can cause damage to the entire roof if the wind gets under them. climb up there before storm and then start to make repairs as needed. Even one or two bad tires can lead to trouble. Hope you have done that before. If not, please make an effort to do that. Again, there's very little we can do now about the kind of roofs you have. But again, this is something to think about moving forward. Gable roofs are a bit less secure, right? You're safer if you have a what you call a hip roof. A hip roof is closed on all sides versus a gable roof, which has an open triangle, making it more likely to catch the wind. You also want hurricane shutters. So there's very little we can do about that at this point, but just something to think about. About debris, what surrounds your home? Perhaps there's something we can do something about at this time. You already know that you need to stash lawn furniture, bikes, and such before a storm. Old pieces of furniture, yes. You know that, right? But are there items you don't have control over that could blow into your home and damage it and damage other people? Something to think about. Perhaps this is a good time not to wait until it's too late, to make sure that you don't have overhanging trees or the old pieces of furniture and other things you have around your house. If you can get rid of them, dispose of them, or if you have to tie things down, do that. It's not too late. It's not too late because we are still in the hurricane season. The experts are predicting the last few weeks of the hurricane season can be very active. That we hope will not occur. I hope their predictions are way off, but it's better, as Monty, a good old scout, would tell you, be prepared. Be prepared, my friends. We are sincerely hoping you already have a plan in place. And perhaps this is a good time to revisit your plan with your family members. Yes? Go over the hurricane warning system on what to do if it sounds when the hurricane, the households are not together. This is so important. There are many persons on St. Vincent and Grenadines living with special needs, right? You need to discuss this with them. Include them in the planning. Include them in whatever strategy plan you have for, safekeeping during a hurricane, for evacuation. Yes, we have infants, we have disabled people, we have the elderly, we have pets. Try to anticipate and prepare for challenges. If you can, some people might not be living with you, might have folks outside elsewhere in the country. So if you get a copy to each person so that they will know exactly what your plans are, where you plan to go, where you plan to evacuate in the event, you have to evacuate, so people will not have to worry too much. Please, we have devices galore, cell phones, we have laptops and all these things, and so on. Get some plans and have them then share with family members. Also, in all of this, determine at least 2 home escape routes in case your home is hit hard, and agree upon a muster point outside the home. Muster to mean where you can meet up, so to speak. Outside, look at local hurricane maps and plan evacuation routes and where to meet if you get separated. It's not too late, my friends. We are suggesting also to develop an emergency communication plan. Ask an out-of-town, out-of-village relative or friend to be your family contact, to coordinate communication in case other communication means fail. If unable to reach one another, family members should call the contact and tell that person where you are and how you're doing, how the family is doing and things like that. Include the contact's names, address, email, phone number in your plan. Friends, in all of this, in order for a plan to be effective during a real natural event, to prevent a real disaster, when things really become chaotic, we are suggesting strongly that you review your plan and update the details with the entire family now. You might have prepared your plan, good for you, at the beginning of the hurricane season. Good for you, right? Good for you. But now probably is a good time to revisit that plan. That way everyone within the circle, right, will remember and follow the steps during an actual emergency. Friends, again, the point is we are still in the hurricane season. The experts are saying that the latter half or the final few weeks of the official, the climatic, so to speak, hurricane season will be very active. We have seen some evidence recently, I think in Bermuda, some up there. A week or so ago, we saw some stuff happening there. Yeah, in St. Croix, some activity there in St. Croix. We are following the systems are there. We join forces with Bay Hill News Network, with Kankati Radio, in encouraging you to stay the course, to stay focused. Don't let down your guard. Be prepared at all times. We are still in the hurricane season. Friends, we're gonna take a short break for commercials. When we come back, we'll introduce a topic we have been wanting to talk about for the longest while. Stay with us. On the other side, we'll be talking a wee bit, introducing the topic, human trafficking avoidance. Stay with us.
In other news, citizens across SVG are experiencing fever-like symptoms. Doctors have attributed this rare flu-like symptom to the highly anticipated football activities being carried out by the SVG Community College, dubbed football fever.
Granddaddy used to tell me one day I'll be great since then. I spent every waking moment trying to make a way for
Boy, it's like I get fever. The SVG Community College Football Fever.
September 26th. Get ready for the start as we test our skill and physical fitness in the 2025 Six-a-Side Knockout Challenge.
No give it up in this chest of mine. This the heart of a champion. The heart of a champion.
Show us if you've got what it takes to rep your division during our interfaculty selection series from September 30th. Then, don our colors with pride, determination, and passion against all others in what is expected to be a tantalizing 2025 SVG Community College Invitational Football Championship, kicking off from October 8th. Finally, we go into extra time with the SVG Community College Football Tour, January 3rd to 5th, 2026.
This thing ya become so popular. If you see it, you no need binoculars.
Make us part of your plan. Join the football caravan. Whether you're a player or a fan, it's all about the 2025 SVG Community College Football Fever.
No give it up in this chest of mine. This the heart of a champion. The heart of a champion.
You can now order your roti skins from Des Tasty Treats and Roti Skins at telephone 1784-528-2979 or pick up Des Tasty Treats and Roti Skins at Randy's Supermarket. More products are coming soon from Des Tasty Treats and Roti Skins. It's the Vin Abbott Show with news, views, and interviews. The music in the mix on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Kankadi Radio. One in Antigua. Travel with Orvan Bully Bus services between Pigot's Village and St. John's on Old Fareham Road. We also conduct island tours 7 days per week, all in comfort, style, and safety. For more information, contact Orvan Bully 1268-764-2869. That's 1268-764-2869.
Every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. you will hear a old-time story by Vin Abbott on BayHillNews.net.
October is Menopause Awareness Month, a time to honor the journey, embrace the change, and amplify the conversation. On Sunday, October the 5th, You're invited to the Meno Makeover, a powerful, engaging session on Zoom.
We got it going on. We got it, yeah. We got it going on. We got it, yeah. We got it going on. We got it, yeah, yeah. We got it.
Let's talk about menopause, but with grace, knowledge, and purpose, because this season of life deserves understanding, not silence. Mark the date, join the conversation. Let's redefine the narrative together.
The Hill News Network presents Inside Health, 30-minute program in which we explore the human body and functions. We'll share real-life stories and the latest in medical science as we look at related diseases, conditions, and determinants of health that affect quality of life. So join me, Vin Abbott, on Wednesday evenings from 8:30 for Inside Health on Bay Hill News Net, also on KincardioRadio.info.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Inside Health, this week's edition. Hope all is going well with you and yours. Monty, I just want to join forces with that organization that is presenting, I think, that Zoom on menopause, that conversation on menopause. I think it's an important discussion to have. And I'm really encouraging the men folk to really be part of this. On two fronts, menopause is such a life-changing period of life in the development of the human being. I say the human being, and because you also have male menopause, what is also referred to as andropause. But also, primarily, when we think of menopause, we think of the female, the woman, and the struggles, the psychological and physical, that the struggles that are associated with menopause just can be overwhelming or tremendous. And as much support we can give to women folk, I think would worth more than money can buy. You know, the emotional stress, and we can go on tonight, but it benefits the family when we can support our women folk who are going through a menopause, that natural period of our life cycle, woman's life cycle. It behoves us as men to become more familiar with the challenges that our women folk face when they're going through the period, that period of developmental in the life cycle called menopause. So I'm really joining forces with the organizations. We are collaborating, Kankadi Bay Hill News Network, with Suzette Weeks and the folks there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to really help to get the message out. And whatever we can do to stream the outcome of that conversation, we certainly will hear on Kankadi Radio, and I'm sure Bay Hill will do the same as well. So again, go out and support, please. Be part of the conversation. Become more educated. Become more sensitive. Become more supportive of our women folk. Please. Please. Friends, again, welcome back. And for the next 5 minutes or so, I just want to talk around a little bit the issue of human trafficking and how we can avoid becoming trafficked, so to speak, as a human being. And I'm again referencing material from the Toronto Police Service 33 Division Crime Prevention Toolkit, assisting our community in home security and personal safety. Again, I am very familiar with the head of this department, this unit. I've spoken with him several times. I've met him in person, and hopefully one of these days I'll be able to do a virtual with him. If it's not on this program, on the Vin Abbott show, that we can also share on Bay Hill News Network. But we have that kind of a collaboration going, because the work that this organization does, this unit does, is just simply tremendous. When we think of the police services or force, we think of just, apprehending the criminals and all of that. But the outreach that is being done by this unit, it is just tremendous. And I think for me, it's a model. Of course, you modify according to needs and training and all of that resources on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I have no doubt the capacity is there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines for our police force to do more than what they do on the surface. But there's so many areas of education that this unit gets involved in. So many areas of education, material, and ranging from auto crimes to frauds and scams against seniors, bicycle safety and theft, business security and robbery prevention, crime prevention, and senior safety, distraction, theft, babysitting safety. That's something I will get into probably on our next program. And we can personal safety, home security, all these things. Remember when we talk about determinants of health, all of these are issues that affect your health and well-being. Because when somebody robs you or assaults you or whatever, that's an intrusion on your person, on your health and well-being. It affects you physically and emotionally. So we should never ever pigeonhole health as just being about medical issues, about diseases and conditions. So about all those factors that affect health and well-being. Money, sex, gender, sex, education level, where you live, your affiliations politically, the state of the hospital, availability of medical services and things like that. All those factors, anything you can think about that affect the way you think, the way you feel, anything that affects your attitude and ultimately your behavior, all those things are determinants of health because they come together to determine your relationship with yourself first and foremost, but beyond that with your maker, with God, and I have no problem saying that, or whoever you perceive as your maker. But that relationship with your maker, that relationship with yourself, because if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, then how can you have a healthy relationship with your spouse, with your family, with your community, with your nation? Just think about it for a while, my friend. Just think about it. With me? And there's so many factors that can interfere on a daily basis, second by second, minute by minute, on how we feel, how we think, our attitude, how we behave. Just think about it for a while. You know what I'm saying? Just think about it. All those are determinants of health. They affect our health and well-being, how we function. You get in a minibus in the morning and somebody rubs you the wrong way, that could affect your performance on the job for the rest of the day, affect production. You get on the bus or you see a friend, somebody says to you, for example, hey, you look terrible. By golly, you could imagine what it's going to do for you, how that is going to linger for the rest of the day, and how that's going to affect you. You're going to ask yourself all sort of questions, blame yourself, well, what's going on with me? Okay? As against if somebody comes up and says, hey man, you look so sweet. You know what I'm saying? How are you doing? Man, you'll be walking in cloud nine for the rest of the day. Production is improved. Your relationship with yourself, probably with your colleagues at work, you get home and with your spouse and your family. Just think about it. Think about those simple examples. So this is what we try to do on this program, Inside Health. It's not just about diseases and conditions and things like that. All those factors that impact health and well-being, from birth, even before that, through pregnancy, conception, to age, old age, I would say. Also, just before we die, because we believe in dying in dignity. We should all die in dignity. So, human trafficking, based on information from the Toronto Police Service 33rd Division Crime Prevention Toolkit, assisting our community in home security and personal safety. Permission was granted, of course, for us to use this, and we're going to be speaking to some of it, right? Bear in mind that some things will work for us on St. Vincent and Grenadines in the Southern Caribbean, St. Lucia, Grenada, Trinidad, the ABCs down there, Aruba, Brunei, Curacao, and up north as well, the Virgin Islands, Antigua, other places in South Jamaica, right up the islands. So what is human trafficking? Because, we might ask ourselves this evening, well, why is this guy talking about human trafficking? Do we have a problem on St. Vincent and Grenadines? Well, let me throw it out, some of the ideas, and you decide for yourself, right? How about that? I'm not going to say to you, yes, we have that problem or don't have it. I'm going to throw out some stuff. Now, human trafficking is defined as forced exploitation of another person, typically for sexual purposes. Let me repeat. Human trafficking is the forced exploitation of another person, typically for sexual purposes. Should I end there for the night and come back? Okay, let's go on. Human traffickers seek out young, particularly high school-aged teens who they groom and exercise control over by a variety of means, including deception, threats, manipulation, and violence. Human trafficking, as we continue, is highly profitable. We're talking money here, mainly. It's highly profitable activity that often involves gang members. So what we want to do in this segment, starting tonight, is to using material, like I said, and personal, from training and all that, from the Toronto Police Services, and hopefully you can relate to all of this on St. Vincent and Grenadines in the islands. Our purpose is to help reduce the risk, reduce the opportunity, and deal with the potential perpetrators using the crime triangle: opportunity, the offender, and the victim. If any one of those areas, those elements, any one of them is absent, the crime won't happen. It will never happen. So the question we ask here, what every teen and parent should know about human trafficking? Why is human trafficking a concern to you? It's a concern to me. I have grandchildren, granddaughters. I have family members and friends and so on who have granddaughters and grandchildren, men too, boys too. You have. I care about our children. We care about our children. So the question is that I probably would want to leave with you tonight. Why is human trafficking a concern to you? Or perhaps I should reframe that. Are you concerned about it? Are you concerned about human trafficking? You hear about it, we just gave a working definition there, but are you concerned? Well, human traffickers are in every community, and they prey upon the young people who live there. Let me repeat this. Human traffickers are in every community, and they prey upon the young people who live there. Not only that, the vast majority of human traffickers were raised in our communities, and they operate right there in those said communities. I'll leave you with this other question, and we'll get back into it next week. What can be done to prevent human trafficking? While human trafficking itself is an exceptionally serious and persistent problem, You can protect yourself by learning about the tactics used by human traffickers and watching for the warning signs. You know, from an ethical standpoint, I feel sort of bad leaving this kind of a hanging tonight, but we have to. You can research some of that yourself. What are some of the signs? Young girls who appear submissive, afraid, and are non-talkative. Young girls who have no identification, or it is held by a male or female companion. Young girls who identify their male companion as a boyfriend, yet know little about them. And we can go on. Friends, let us think about this. Let's ponder this a little bit. Let's ask ourselves, do we really have a problem with human trafficking in our society? Based on the definition I gave, the questions and answers I passed out, you know, thereafter. Think about it, my friends. Think about them. What are your views on human trafficking? And let me just add this. This is, if you have questions or you have concerns or stories you want to share, right, we'll maintain confidentiality for sure. And you want to share as a parent, as a young lady, you can get in touch with us here at Kankadi Radio. That's cancrdi.radio@gmail.com. Or you can get in touch with Monty down there on the Hill News Network, right? Kankadi.radio@gmail.com. And, you know, get them to me. I'll get to be, you know, or talk with Monty and at the Hill News. And Monty will also give out the coordinates for the Hill News Network at the end of this program. So you can get in touch with Monty if you want to share information that you want to share with me, if you want to share a story. And we'll do that with confidentiality, not to worry. But it's a serious issue. It might be taken for granted. You might think it's something that is associated only with the bigger communities, bigger countries, and so on. The reports we have tell us that we have human trafficking going on, you know, amidst their on St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean. Something for us to think about. Friends, this is where I want to end the program for this week. Sincerely, we found it useful and enlightening. You can always give us your feedback at cancrdi.radio@gmail.com. We'll be happy to hear from you. That's cancrdi.radio@gmail.com. And we'll be really, really, really happy to hear from you. Or, like I said, Monty will share the links, the coordinates for the here. You can share with Monty as well. Our chief engineer down there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're happy to hear from you. Friends, until then, until next time, we're wishing you a wonderful rest of the evening and the rest of the week. Monty, thank you very much. Listeners, thank you so much. We love you. Migan.
Hey, you found us. Kankadi Radio. That's